Welcome to Legislative Support Services Understanding the Legislative Process class. My name is Laura Love, and I'm the manager of the Legislative Information Center. A little throwback to high school civics. There are three branches of the government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The legislative branch writes the laws, the executive branch enforces the laws, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. This is an oversimplification of these branches, as they do a lot more. The legislative branch is called the first among equals because it writes our state laws and authors our state constitution. The legislature works on a biennium. This is a 2-year cycle. It's important to know that bills not passed in the first year of the biennium are carried over to the second year. According to our state constitution, regular sessions begin the second Monday in January. The first year of regular session is a long session. Long sessions last 105 days, and this is when the legislature creates the biennial budget. The second year of a biennium is a short session. Short sessions last 60 days, and this is when the legislature creates supplemental budgets. The first year is always an odd-numbered year. The second year is an even-numbered year. We also have special session. Special sessions can be called by the governor, or the legislature can call themselves into a special session, with 2/3 majority vote in both chambers. Special sessions can last up to 30 days, and we can have multiple special sessions. There are 49 districts in Washington state, equal in population. Every 10 years after the national census is done, the data is compiled, and an independent redistricting commission redraws the districts to make sure they're still equal in population. Washington state has a bicameral legislature. This means we have 2 chambers. We have the Senate and the House of Representatives. Each district has 1 senator that serves a 4-year term and 2 representatives that serve 2-year terms. Election of members is done in even-numbered years. Every election cycle, half of the Senate seats and all of the representative seats are up for election. Chambers are the official halls for the meeting of a legislative body. Chambers are controlled by the caucus or political party in power. Caucuses are a group of legislators and staff who unite to promote an agreed-upon agenda, influence policy, and decide on questions of leadership. Typically, these take the form of political parties. You may have heard of Senate Democrats, Senate Republicans, House Democrats, and House Republicans, but there are many caucuses, and members from different caucuses can join to form a coalition. The majority caucus wields the most power. Due to the vast amount of bills that can be introduced in session, the House and Senate have legislative committees to help decide which bills will move forward in the process. There are policy committees, fiscal committees, and the Rules Committee, although the Rules Committee functions differently than the other standing committees. Our Constitution states that laws will be made by an elected legislature. Laws can also be made directly by the people through the initiative process. Our Constitution states the first power reserved by the people is the initiative, and that is the direct power to enact new laws or change existing laws. We also have a referendum process that gives voters an opportunity to approve or reject laws proposed or enacted by the legislature. We also have bills. Bills are proposed legislation from members, and we're about to jump into how a bill becomes a law in Washington state. Every bill starts as an idea in someone's head, and the idea gets written down and submitted to the code reviser. The code reviser's office takes the written idea and puts it in a draft bill format. This draft bill needs to have an elected member sponsor it before it moves on. Once the bill has a sponsor, or sponsors, it goes back to the code reviser's office, where it is turned into a real bill with its official 4-digit bill number. House bills are numbered 1,000 through 3,999, and Senate bills are numbered 5,000 through 7,999. Now that you know this, you can look at a bill number and tell whether it came from the House or Senate. We also have companion bills. Companion bills are when the exact same piece of legislation is introduced in both chambers. They are identical when they're filed. According to our state constitution, members can pre-file bills. This means even though session doesn't start until the second Monday in January, members can start pre-filing bills the first Monday in December. All the pre-filed bills are introduced on the first day of session. After a bill has been filed, it gets its first reading. This is the introduction of the bill on the floor. The bill is read in a pro forma session. Pro forma means as a matter of form. In its first reading, it's assigned to a standing committee. In the committee, the bill gets a chance to have a hearing. If it gets a hearing, this is when public testimony is taken. Committees can also have work sessions. Work sessions are an informal discussion of a measure or topic by a committee. No action or testimony is taken on a bill in a work session. Committees also have executive sessions. They can take executive action on a bill, offer a substitute bill, refer the bill to another committee. If a bill has a $50,000 fiscal impact, it has to go to a fiscal committee after a policy committee. And even if a bill got a hearing, the committee could still take no action on it. And they can refer the bill to the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee is the process by which bills are made eligible to be placed on the floor calendar for a second reading. Bills generally go through a two-step rules process. Rules Review in the House and Rules White in the Senate are the same step with different names. These are all the bills in the initial rules stage. Rules Consideration in the House and Rules Green in the Senate are the same step with a different name. This is the list of bills pulled from the Review and White that are eligible to go to the floor. Rules X-Files are a list of bills unlikely to go to the floor. However, bills can be pulled from X-Files to the floor. The second reading is when the committee substitutes are offered, and the whole chamber decides by vote which version of the bill to move forward. At the second reading, floor amendments may be offered. There are page and line amendments. For instance, on page 3, line 16, change this to that. There are also striker amendments. These amendments erase everything after the enacting clause and inserts new language. A bill becomes engrossed when floor amendments are adopted in the chamber of origin. After the second reading, the bill can go back to the Rules Committee, or the rules can be suspended and it can be moved directly into a third reading. The third reading is the last vote a bill needs to pass in its chamber of origin before moving to the opposite chamber. In the opposite chamber, the bill goes through the same process as in the chamber of origin. It gets read on the floor and assigned to a committee. It has a chance to get a public hearing and move through standing committee and rules process to a second and third reading onto the opposite chamber floor. One of the differences from the chamber of origin process is that the opposite chamber cannot amend a bill. They can only propose amendments on a bill. If the opposite chamber passes the bill without offering amendments, then the bill moves on in the process. If a bill has been amended by the opposite chamber, the chamber of origin must decide whether it will concur with the amendments. Leadership decides which bills returned from the second chamber will be discussed and places those bills on the concurrence calendar. If the chamber of origin concurs with the amendments, the bill has passed the legislature. If the chamber of origin disagrees with the amendments, they can ask the opposite chamber to recede from the amendments. If the opposite chamber recedes from their amendments, the bill has passed the legislature. If the chambers do not concur with or recede from amendments, either may request a conference committee, and the other may agree. It is not required that the chambers ask or agree to this process. If they do, each chamber assigns members to meet and come to an agreed upon version of the bill. If they agree, the conference committee makes a report. Both chambers must adopt the conference committee report for the bill to pass the legislature. If one or both chambers do not adopt the conference committee report, whether by vote or inaction, the bill has not passed. If both chambers pass the conference committee report, the bill has passed the legislature. It is signed by the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House, and it moves on to the governor's desk for governor action. The governor has a few options when it comes to executive action on a bill. They can sign the bill or veto the bill. They can veto a full bill or an entire section in a bill. And in budget bills, the governor can even veto line items. They also have the option to do nothing. Unlike the federal process, where if the president doesn't sign a bill, it does not pass, bills become law in Washington state with or without the governor's signature. The governor has 5 days to act on a bill, and we count Monday through Saturday and state holidays. Sunday is not counted. If a bill is delivered to the governor's desk within the last 5 days of session, they have 20 days to act on it. Bills generally are effective 90 days after the last day of session. Bills can have different effective dates if it's specified in the bill. Some bills have emergency clauses in them, and this language states that the bill will take effect immediately. Bills with emergency clauses are not subject to referendum or advisory votes. Because session is a limited amount of time and there is a lot of work to do, the legislature adopts a cutoff calendar. This relates calendar days to the days of session and creates deadlines for when bills need to be passed each step of the process. Bills necessary to implement the budget are not subject to the same cutoff deadlines. The order of the cutoff dates goes with the process. First, bills must be out of the Chamber of Origin Policy Committee, then Fiscal Committee, then out of the Chamber of Origin. After that, opposite chamber policy and fiscal committees, and out of the opposite chamber. Finally, the last cutoff day is the last day of session, sine die. Most importantly, if you have questions or need assistance, we can help you find answers or point you in the right direction. You can call Legislative Support Services Legislative Information Center at 360-786-7573 or email us at support@leg.wa.gov. Thank you very much and have a great day.